What's up, guys? Before we get into today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, which is Porofessor. Simply put, Porofessor is an app that will help you win more games of League of Legends. Before you even get into the game, by using the Porofessor app, you'll be able to auto import your runes, and when you get into the game, you'll be able to track the stats of all the players in the lobby, so you know who on your team knows how to play the champion they're currently playing, and who on the enemy team knows how to play the champions that they're playing. So as a jungler, you know where to path and what to do. Once the game ends, there's post-match analysis and breakdowns for you, so you can know what you can do better to win in the next game. And most importantly, Porofessor is completely safe and completely complies with Riot's terms of service. Over 8 million people use Porofessor, and you can be one of them today if you just go to the link in the description and download Porofessor completely for free. Last up, LCK. Okay, bro. Their roster: Morgan, Gideon, Karis, Envy, and we don't know who the support is yet. I thought Gideon was good. I've always been somebody who's high on Gideon. I don't believe in Morgan. I don't believe in I mean, Karis I actually think is decent. I think he's decent. He has potential, but I can't see him being better than like the players on the top 5 teams, the top 5 mid laners in LCK. Might not even be better than Closer as well. And then I don't know, like we don't know who their support is. I think it will still just be a mid to bottom tier team. And by mid, I mean like they'll be worse than the top 5 teams, but maybe they sneak into playoffs as a 6th place team with like a 6-12 record or some shit. Like that's possible. They could be like DRX, just sneak their ass into fucking playoffs and just get dicked. All right, DRX: Rascal, Sponge, Setab, Paduk, and Plita. Okay, so I don't know who Sponge, Setab, and Plita are. I have no clue who these players are, bro. This just smells like the Kwangdong Freaks roster from last year, where it's just like, all right, bunch of rookies. Let's see if they're fucking good. I don't know, man. Like Rascal, this DRX team was already not good. Now I'm looking at this team like, why is this team going to be better? They got SpongeBob on their team. Legit the worst names I've ever seen. Yeah, I have no opinion, bro. I like don't know any of these players. KT Rolster. Okay, KT Rolster. We don't know their support and we don't know their top laner. I was wondering if Beryl was just going to be on this KT Rolster team, because he's not on DRX anymore. And I mean, this, like, even though he had some beef with like Pioshik, like he won worlds with Pioshik and Deft. If that becomes Beryl, we essentially have like new DRX, right? Pioshik back in LCK. I think he'll be okay. It's Beryl. Ooh, Beryl is the rumor. Okay, I think that team could be decent. I mean, I just think that they'll be the worst out of the like top tier teams. The way that I said this before, but I was doing it during LEC. The way I kind of see this working is the same as last year. There's a top 5 and a bottom 5. Top 5: KT, Dom1, Hanwha Life, T1, Gen.G. And then you're going to have a bottom 5 that is losing almost every game to these teams that are the top 5 teams. Okay, bro, DRX, Sandbox, Nongshim, Afrika. So KT Rolster, I think they'll be decent, but I think they'll be worse than the other teams. They'll be worse than the other top tier teams, I mean. Live Sandbox: Clear, Willer, Closer, Heda, and Jonghoon. I don't know, bro. It's pretty uninspiring to me. I just, like, maybe they'll be slightly better than the other bad teams. Like, maybe they'll be better than DRX, Okay, bro, and Afrika, and then they'll be just like maybe worse than, maybe better than Nongshim as well. So maybe they'll be the best out of the bad teams again, which they were for a long period, right? Like they were 6th in spring, I believe. They were better than the bad teams before, but they were never close to the top teams. They were never actually better than the top teams. You never felt like they were actually going to win a best of 5 versus Dom1, a best of 5 versus Hanwha Life. They just weren't on that tier. Okay, D+. Kingin on D+, Showmaker, Aiming, Kellen. So they kept Kellen and Showmaker. I think Kingin is an upgrade to Kana. I think Kana was really bad. I think Kingin is an upgrade for sure. I think the dynamic here works pretty well, because I think Kingin is best, even though he did carry games against Zeus in finals of Worlds 2022. I think that he is best as like a weak side top laner. Like when I think of Kingin, I think of Ornn, you know? Kellen is not the best. I think Aiming had a good year. Showmaker, I think, is a beast. It's like probably my favorite player in LCK. Lucid is super hyped. I think that the roster makes sense. Like Kingin frontlining for Showmaker and Aiming. Now the question is, can Kellen and Lucid actually get the team in positions to win? I don't know how good Lucid really is. So we'll have to see. Everyone's saying he's insane. He's super hyped up, but he's replacing Canyon, bro. This team will be fine. I think they're 4th, right? I think they're just a solid 4th place team. I think they'll be better than KT. I think they'll be worse than Hanwha Life, Gen.G, T1. Afrika, no roster. No idea. I just can't imagine it being good. I just can't imagine it being good if Bulldog's remaining as a mid laner. I thought Bulldog was like pretty bad overall. when I watched him play. I thought Fiesta was also not good. I think Dindin is good. I like Dindin, but I think that this will also just be another team that's losing the majority of their games. Okay, Hanwha Life. KDF is Dudu, Youngjae, Pyongyang, Bull, and Quantum. I don't know who half those players are. I know Youngjae, Dudu, and Bulldog. Wait, is Bulldog and Bull just different? Yeah, I don't know who Bull is if it's not Bulldog. And I don't know who Quantum is either. Hanwha Life. Okay, Hanwha Life. Hanwha Life. Let's talk about this team. This is like one of the more exciting teams. Viper has a fucking squad. So they have Gen.G's, top, jungle, and support. I thought Delight was really good. Over the entirety of LCK, Delight was better than Keria. If you take the average level of performance from spring all the way through summer in LCK only, Delight was better than Keria. Keria had a higher peak. Delight was mega consistent. And he was better when it came to playoffs. I think Delight is a beast. And I think this is exactly the type of support that Viper needs. Zika, a lot of people are going to be questioning Zika in this lineup because the general perception is that he had a bad last year. I like a player like Zika with structure like this. Like Doran's going to be fine. He's always going to be fine in LCK. Peanut is good at giving structure to the team. Delight and Peanut have worked together before. They've got the macro and everything sorted. Zika can just focus on being himself and being a good player. I think Zika will actually perform in this lineup. I think that this will be a great lineup for him to play with because he doesn't have to think that much. He can just be himself and be the mechanical beast that we know he is. So I think Zika with Peanut, I think it's a good pairing. I think Viper now has a really good supporting cast. I think that this team is good enough where Viper can go into GOAT mode. He can win best of fives versus like T1 or Gen.G potentially now. I don't think he's favored to do that, but I think that if Viper just pops off, we end up in a fucking meta where Viper is just insane. I think that this guy, he's one of the best 280 carries in the entire world for me. So, and he's somebody who I've had multiple times being the best player in the entire world. I think this is a great lineup for him. I'm so happy to watch this lineup play. I think this might end up being my favorite team in LCK. My favorite LCK team was always Dom1, but now when I see this lineup, now that Viper actually has players that I like on his team, like I've always liked Zika ever since he was in LPL, and I really liked Delight. Now that you have these three, this might be my favorite LCK team. Yeah, Doran's good in LCK. Doran's fine. Like he just has some really big ints that it's hard to get by. But you just have to accept it, bro. You literally just have to accept that he is going to run it down egregiously for no reason, flash a wall into people. You're going to be wondering what the fuck he's doing. And when he's not doing that, he'll be pretty good. You just have to accept that. Doran is Zeus's father. Yeah, I mean, Doran just shits on Zeus every time they meet in finals. All right, Gen.G. We'll go Gen.G. I mean, T1, same roster, right? They should on paper be the best team. They're a team that just won Worlds. There's nothing to really say here. T1 should just be the best team on paper. All right, Gen.G. Canyon, Chovy, Pays, Lehens, and Keen. Fucking squad right there, bro. Canyon and Chovy together. I don't know how this pairing is going to work. I'm excited to see Canyon play on a different team because it's really cool to see like a player just actually take on a new challenge, like not be as comfortable. This squad looks good on paper. I'm a little worried about Keen, Lehens together. Like Keen's stocks went down pretty hard from regular season. If you consider how good Keen was in regular season in LCK, and you compare that to how he was in playoffs and Worlds, it felt like a completely different player. So I'm a little bit scared about that. I think same would go for Lehens. I like Lehens as a player. Like he's a very creative player. And I think that's really interesting when you have a player like Chovy, right? Because you have Chovy who's like super standard, super good. Canyon is also like a very pure jungler in a lot of ways. Like he just... Like if we end up in a meta where like camps are worth a lot, he understands like efficiency. He understands like how to invade, how to get himself a lead, like how to play around prio, how to completely an enemy jungler, how to just completely take them out of a game. And I think that these types of players would benefit from having like a Hillsong type player. Lehens to me is just Korean Hillsong. That's kind of how I view him. When Hillsong is good, like Lehens is that type of guy. He's just that weird player. He'll find crazy engages. I still think about his spellbook Rakan, his TP spellbook Rakan, and the things he was able to open up with that. He's just really creative, and I think that it's interesting. Pays was really solid in his rookie year. I don't think there's anything to say about him. He's returning. It is going to be a different look. I don't know if they'll be as good as Gen.G was in LCK immediately, but I'm just excited to see what they end up doing. I just need to see Canyon Chovy play some games. You think T1 will be stronger or weaker after they won Worlds? I mean, I don't think that it'll make them struggle. Maybe when they get to finals, they'll like feel more confident because they don't have this pressure of like, we choked over and over. Maybe just having like a layup final was good for them. Even though DRX was technically a layup final and they f***ed that up pretty bad. I mean, T1 is still had issues the entire year. They were able to band-aid their issues at the end of the year, but throughout LCK, they had macro issues consistently, which is why Gen.G just beat them all year round. Like, Gen.G was just way better at playing slow games and playing like team fights around major objectives. Like third Drake fights, they were way better at. They're way better at cross mapping. T1 a lot of times felt really desperate around Baron in LCK, where it felt like they needed to do something, so they would just go to Baron and start hitting it, and a lot of times it just wasn't even good. Whereas it felt like more at Worlds, they were better at starting Baron with an idea, understanding like what they were going to do with the Baron start, whether that be turning, finishing the Baron, whatever they needed to do. And I think that was actually really beneficial for the team. Like, they just didn't have those like massive swings that they had before. Let's start ranking teams. Okay, S tier. I'm going to have two people in S tier this time. T1, number 1. Gen.G, number 2. Number 3, alone. Hanwha Life. Viper Delight. The boys. Viper Delight, I like the squad. Zika, Peanut, Doran. Solid squad. B tier. Gonna go Domwon 4. Old DRX in 5. All right, now we got where it gets ugly. Sandbox, I guess. Let me just look at this again. Sandbox roster. Sandbox, okay, bro. DRX, Nongshim, and Afrika. Okay. Like, this is like, dude, who knows? I could be completely off with this. I'm just gonna go Afrika and Nongshim at the bottom. Okay, bro. I guess I'll give them 7th. I guess I'll give okay, bro, 7th. And DRX 8th. I guess that's what it is, boys. It looks fucking ugly. Like, once again, I feel like the disparity between top and bottom teams in LCK is huge. I thought the same last year, and it ended up being true. And this year, I just feel the exact same way about it. I just feel like all the talent is concentrated on the top team.